All right, team, welcome back to another episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. Today is a very special episode. We actually get to sit down with a group. We're at Commodity Classic in Houston, Texas, and we've got a few people here sitting around the table. We're going to have a conversation about some success. We're going to have a conversation about intention as it pertains to making decisions at the farm gate. We've got a couple of growers sitting here with us, along with Billy Carter from Ag Explorer here at the Ag Explorer booth. So, Billy, I'm going to let you do the honors and introduce these fine gentlemen sitting around us.
Yes, sir. Hey, it's a privilege to have these fellows here with us today. We have Mr. Dennis McKay out of Owensboro, Kentucky, farms in the Stanley community there. He is the Kentucky record holder on soybeans irrigated, and has been a multiple-year National Corn Grower winner, first place for the state of Kentucky. And then on my right, I have Mr. Josh Waston. Josh has been a good friend and customer for several years. He's been a national corn finalist the last 3 years on the big stage, and he holds the Tennessee state record for dry ground beans that he done this year. So, got two really good farmers, I think, sitting with us today, and I think we can learn a lot from what they've got going on and see what their insights are and how you can take that farm to the next level with these kind of guys.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to open up the question. Maybe I'll go to Dennis to my left here first, and then we'll come over to Josh. When I know, at least for my business, there's always a couple big things, maybe two or three big things that are important when it as it pertains to decision making, deciding which products I'm going to use, which services I'm going to use. And I'm always curious when I'm talking to other leaders, what are those criteria? What helps you determine? What are those 2 to 3 big things that you consider when it comes to making decisions for your farm?
Well, I guess I'd have to say me and Billy's been working together for 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. And I would suggest to somebody, if they was looking for something like that, they need to find somebody that they can work with, they can trust. I mean, like I might find a product and tell Billy, I said, we need to look at this, and he'll say sure. He said, even though it may not be his product. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, me and Billy just work really well together. I mean, we don't always agree, but I mean, I think that's why we work so good together. Because I'll call him and I'll say, hey, what about this? And then he'll have to, he thinks about it and says, well, let me check into it.
Sure, yeah. So it's about having a good foundation of trust, someone you can work with. But it's also okay that we don't agree on everything. We can push back, we can challenge each other a little bit. So there's some. Does that help with ideation and coming up with better ideas? Do you think better results?
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you for that. Josh, what about you? What are those 2 to 3 big things that are important to you when you're selecting your vendors?
Well, we started in the fall looking for the new corn varieties, and DeKalb seems to have those varieties that's worked well on my farm, and we'll pick those varieties off of the university data.
Okay.
They actually had 2 new varieties this year that worked really well on our farm. And then Billy, he's been helping with us, I guess 3 years now, Billy? Going on our 4th year. So we've brought home some trophies, and I've put my trust into Billy and Ag Explorer, and we've done well.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have. So I'm hearing a lot of trust in Billy. So we can,
fellas, that's really putting a lot of pressure on me for this year. But I appreciate it. If y'all could just talk to my wife and tell her to have this same kind of trust, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your farms, your operations, and how many acres, what you got going on. Josh, why don't you lead off on that? Tell us a little bit about your space.
We farm in East Tennessee, the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. We farm a lot of steep ground. We was in the dairy business for many years, and we kicked that to the side and just strictly row crop. We row crop 1,500 acres there in the valley, and we do have some pasture ground, hay fields. But we live in a very good area to market crops. We've got a strong basis. probably stronger than other places in the country on corn and beans.
Sure.
But we've had we've had some good years there in East Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently moved to North Carolina and have been so I'm closer to that. I'm a Midwest kid, Minnesota born and raised, but we moved to central North Carolina, and we've been getting out there into western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. It's a beautiful country.
Oh yeah.
It is incredible. I fully intend to spend the rest of my life out in that part of the world once I can get out of where I am here in about a few years when kids get out of high school. Beautiful, beautiful country. But very interesting farming. It's been for me, it's been a little bit of a departure from Midwest ag to the way things are done in your part of the world. So,
well, we farm small fields, 20, 30 acre fields, even some smaller than that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the challenges, just bouncing around to these lots, I guess you'd call them.
Right.
But when we get rain, we can produce, a really good crop in East Tennessee.
You bet. Is there a lot of variability in the ground where you're at as well, or is it?
Well, we've got a lot of different soil types, but it's, as George Pettit would say, limestone ground, red limestone ground, which it's strong dirt, but it varies. Depends if you're in the bottoms or on the ridges, but
you bet.
I don't know. We're 3-4% organic matter there.
Sure.
On average.
You bet.
The highest would be 6.
Wow. Okay. It's very very different than what I grew up in Minnesota. I was just back there last weekend, and it's been 2 years since I've been home, and I've gotten used to looking at this red soil. I said, that's a black field over there. Felt a little bit like home again. So, Dennis, tell us about your operation.
Well, it's me and my brother and his oldest son and my youngest son. So we farm about 2,500 acres.
Okay.
We used to be really big in tobacco and vegetables and watermelons and everything, and we kind of got out of that, and that's where I met Billy.
Okay.
So with us 4 on the farm trying to make a living, we got to up the ante, start being more profitable. So
you bet.
We went with that away. We're probably just total opposite of Josh and him. All I am is flat ground, wide open. My smallest field might be 50 or 60 acres.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
Well, that's a lot different. Yeah. Very good. What kind of equipment do you run there?
John Deere.
John Deere. Green stuff. How about you?
We're John Deere, been for years, but that's about the only dealership we have in the area.
Yeah.
So they've been good to us.
That's good.
We're sitting here with one fella though. He runs John Deere equipment, but he's got this red planter behind, so it's like Christmas, red and green out there when he's in that field planting.
A little bit of
That's
both.
right.
A little bit of both. Yeah.
My dad, he ain't real happy with that just yet.
No. All right. Well, I would love to dive in and learn a little bit more about what Ag Explorer and their services have done to your yields. It sounds like there's plenty of trust in the atmosphere, and we let Billy make a lot of recommendations. We'd love to get a little bit more specific about that for the benefit of the listeners, and I'm also just trying to understand decision making too, and what's really important, from your standpoint, because a lot of leaders are looking for how do we make better decisions, how do I impact growers in a better way, and things like that. But Billy, where do you want to start with that?
Well, we're going to start on Josh and Dennis the same way as I'd start on any grower in the U.S. That's going to be that roadmap we have of a soil test. What happens in agriculture a lot of times, I think that we take a good product, we use it at the wrong place, and it becomes a bad product. A guy's like, man, I used that and I seen a negative return. And you go down the road and the next guy used it and he's seen 20 bushel return. So I think that it's putting the right product at the right place based on the soil resources that we have on the farm. So both these gentlemen are really astute on being able to read their soil test. They understand a good basic understanding of what the nutrients do and the timing of the plant, when to apply. They make a lot of their own recommendations now. After several years working together, we've got the same goals, so and outcome, and they're able to we're able to read each other's mind, I guess you would say, knowing why we're going to do. But the first step we're going to do is let's look at that soil test, see our soil resources, let's see how we're going to amend, and then how we're going to feed that crop for the yield goal that we have in mind. And the yield goal is a true yield goal. It's fun to win contests. Both these gentlemen sitting here, hey, they got the trophies, that's good, but you know what? That bank has to be happy at the end of the year. And we spend more time on getting that ROI type programs for them, so the banker's happy, so we can go chase big yields. So we're going to start with the basics, and we're going to teach basics all the way through.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, is there anything, Josh, that you would add to that? Is there anything specific that Ag Explorer, the products, or specifically Billy, that that they add into the equation that make you stick with them?
Well, the proof's in the pudding, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Even the non-contest acres have been phenomenal. I remember first meeting Billy. He wrote the program out on the hood of my truck on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And we stick to it.
You want to talk about trust? I'm going to sidestep here. Meet Josh in a field in East Tennessee. He's never met me, don't know me from Adam. I grab an envelope he's got in the console of his truck. Yeah. He tells me, hands me a soil test, and hey, we write this down, hand it to him, and this man has been a program follower ever since that day. I mean, and it's just work. We've been blessed.
Good. I love it. I love it. Dennis, what about you? What is it that has anything about AgX specifically and services that makes you keep coming back year over year?
I just like Ag Explorer. The people, they go out of their way. I can call Billy. There's a product that Ag Explorer's got. I call it the secret powder. What's the name of it?
GrowPack AI.
And I won't plant without it.
Yeah.
And if I call Billy at 3:00 that afternoon and says I'm out,
yep,
he'll leave for Missouri right then
and go get it.
So that in the morning I can start back.
Very good. So there's a service component to it as well then.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. When so gentlemen, I want to think about other than product, other than service. Is there anything else that you would share that would be valuable if you think of maybe another grower listening to this, or even a salesperson that can learn a thing or two from your observation of Billy? What would you advise them to do, other than, sure, take a look at Ag Explorer, but when it comes to just making good decisions for your operation? Dennis, why don't you lead us off on that? What would you recommend to someone?
I don't really know. I mean,
yeah.
I just let, me and Billy work really good together, and that would be my thing for a lot of people. I mean,
find someone you can trust.
Yeah, there's people around me that don't do nothing, and they ask me questions, and I tell them, I said, find you somebody that will go to the table for you, and I said, somebody that you can trust. They're not just selling you the product.
Sure.
And that would be my suggestion, is find that person.
Yeah, you bet. Anything to add to that, Josh?
I'd recommend doing tissue samples. Get those maybe every couple of weeks, and then see which component needs to go where. Because they do have sulfur, boron. You may be deficient in something. So,
right.
Tissue sampling, which we kind of got behind on this past year. We turned off dry there at home, and we was kind of like, should we put any more product on or not? But
you betcha.
That's what I'd suggest.
Yeah. So, Josh, it seems like from your perspective, you like the data, you like the university research, you like to know that you've got.
I want to see the data.
Yeah.
And it's like picking a hybrid. Show me the data.
Yeah.
Just don't take a seed salesman's word for it.
Right.
Let's see the data.
Yep.
So, even on soybeans and corn. So. Sure. And these products.
Yep, absolutely. So, Josh likes the data. Dennis, do you use as much data in your decision making, or are you a little bit more by feel?
I'm the same as Josh.
Are you?
I take tissue samples every week.
Yep.
Take soil samples every year, And in some spots, I take a soil sample twice during the growing season.
Okay. Well, very good. And I'm always curious. So when you send those soil samples or tissue samples in, you get the information back. How long does it take for you to go from that to making a decision to putting on an application or not doing anything? I'm always curious, like how quick do you guys react?
Well, like on a tissue sample, we react pretty fast. Like if we're low in something or need some sulfur, I'm calling Billy, hey, get me some sulfur, And,
Yep.
and a lot of times we apply that with a drone if it gets too tall on cord.
Sure.
But soil sampling, most time we're pulling those in the fall of the year, and I guess we already got a head on the soil sampling with that.
Yeah.
But,
And I think I want to add something. What we're seeing over the last few years is if we're proactive, we don't have to be as reactive, and we've noticed our yields as we're proactive are a whole lot better than when we're seeing that tissue is low. So when we're looking at these tissue samples on both these fellas, we never want to see that dip. We know once we have that dip situation, we've lost some yield. How much? We can all argue about that. So we're going to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. So here's where I'm going with this, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a leadership podcast. We've got this in the earbuds and truck speakers of ag salespeople, business leaders, hopefully a few farmers driving up and down the road. And what I'm thinking about what it takes to be intentional, right, with our leadership. There's a big lesson here that I'm sort of distilling from you guys. I'm learning from you as we have this conversation today. Is you can only manage what you measure. Right? I mean, if you're looking for those consistent year-over-year big results, big outcomes that you can depend on, I mean, you really have to pay attention. We're taking weekly things. Now, I'm going to say this. I work with a lot of ag organizations, and there's a lot of people out there not measuring their people, not paying attention to, so I'm curious what you see from other ag organizations, and not good. I'm not necessarily saying anything bad, but what would you love to see from vendors around the industry? I'm sure you have a number of them. You buy implements, you buy stuff from Ag Explorer, you buy other things too, I'm sure. But just what would you advise your vendors to?
Well,
how to show
I'll
up?
take that question.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a number. I don't like being somebody sell me something and they're gone.
Yeah.
I like the service that comes with it. Ag Explorer has done that. But being the seed guy, he comes by, he makes that sale, he's gone. That's the worst thing you can do to me.
Yeah.
But I like the service after the sale.
Yeah.
What about you, Dennis?
Well, I'll probably get in trouble for this. What gets me a lot with a lot of the vendors is a guy comes out and he wants to sell you this something. I said, well, what's it do? I'm like, Josh, show me some data. Sell me on the product. And they can't do it because they don't know nothing about it. They're just in the sale position.
Yep.
Me personally, I wished a lot of them would, just like seed corn. You go and ask them, say, hey, what about this? Well, I don't know. But, I work really good with MicroCoat.
Yeah,
and
sure.
and them are good for me. Them are good people. I mean, I can get a question answered. I can get service anytime I want it. That's just like with Ag Explorer. I mean, if I need an answer, I'll get it.
You bet.
I mean, you're not dealing with just a salesperson.
Yeah. Well, very good. Now, to follow that up, because I'm guessing there's a lot of young people. We have a lot of young people who come through our programs that we'll be putting this content in front of. If you could advise that 23-year-old seller who doesn't know it all, right? But they got to start somewhere, right? And so some of these companies, we're going to hire some young people, and we're going to run them out there in front of a few of you guys, and hopefully they stick it out. But if you could advise Sounds like we got a little Amber Alert going off here in the background, but I think we'll be okay on the audio here. Now, if you could advise that young person, maybe they're 23, 25, they're fresh out of university, they're out there trying to get a start. You could give them some advice on how to approach you and how to have a conversation with you. Maybe they don't get that sale today, but at least how do I start that relationship with you? What would you tell them?
I would tell them hook up with a farmer, like me or Josh or anybody that's pushing the envelope, and find somebody, an agronomist or whatever, that they can start learning somewhat the tricks of the trade or whatever. And I tell some all the time, I said, you're more than welcome to come on the farm. You can go with me when we go look at the crop or whatever, and
building that relationship and getting out there. It's not just about pushing product.
Right. I mean, it's I'm sure Josh is just like I am with Billy and us. I mean, there's things that we don't know that we're learning every year and just applying it the following year and the following year. And
you bet. And that's a very intentional statement in and of itself right there, because people often don't remember that. They think just because they got big results means they got it all figured out, right? And there's always learning and growing. Josh, how would you advise that young salesperson to approach you?
Oh, are we talking about a farmer as a?
Yeah, if you had a young vendor coming out, maybe they want to. I don't care if they got seed, maybe crop inputs or something else for your operation.
The worst thing you can do is come in there and say it's going to make this many bushels on your farm, and this is the best. And the way they should approach me, here's a product I'd like for you to try. Why don't you try it on so many acres? Or, give me a chance. And I'm willing to do that. But just don't come in there with a big head, I guess, and say, I've got the best, and we beat them. And when they start putting down the competitors, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Just show me what you got.
Yeah.
And, give me 5 acres worth or 10. Or,
sure.
And I'd be willing to try that. But I don't know. Everybody, whatever they're selling seems like he's the best,
Of course. We've all got the best product.
I would rather them just say, hey, maybe here's some data from the universities. And here's some product.
You got it. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys for sharing that, because I think that's going to be super relevant. One of the goals with this podcast is to, in this season, when this episode comes out, we're talking to farmers specifically and trying to get some understanding, get a little bit more help in the ears for some of these young people to learn how to work with growers better, right? And not just being, some people come in and they get frustrated right away and they quit, and it costs that company money. They never get to really become partners with their farmers. And we at Thrive Today, we teach what we call the 4 levels of value. And there's transactional value, there's expected value, that's table stakes, and then there's value add. But people often forget the most important one, which is partnership.
I like loyalty.
Yeah.
Loyalty means a lot to me.
Yeah, very good.
Staying with, riding the storms out or whatever.
Stay in the course.
That's right.
Stay in the course. All right, Billy, talk to us. We're going to start bringing this in for a landing here. Give us a little bit of recap on the success these guys have had. I know they're here getting some awards for the work that they've done. Talk to us a little bit.
This year in 2023, Dennis won first place NCGA Kentucky with his irrigated corn. Josh won first place dry ground conventional corn in Tennessee. He's going to stand second place on the stage this year. He also hit the new Tennessee state record for dry ground corn this year. Not their first years. It ain't their first rodeo. I used to joke them. I'd say, hey, I told Josh year one, I said, we won once, let's do it again, not be the one-hit wonder, and here he is 3 times in a row. So anyway, that's what these gentlemen do. It's been a pleasure to work with them. They're the kind of guys you just wake up and you look forward to, because they're going to push that envelope, and we have a good time doing it.
All right. Well, guys, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thanks for sitting down with us here at Commodity Classic. Thanks to Ag Explore for having me in, having all of us down here, and fantastic conversation. Head over to agexplore.com, learn more about these guys, and probably go check out some of the results that Dennis and Josh have produced too. Pretty fantastic stuff. So, all right, my friends, survival's dead. It's your time to thrive. Let's go get it.
All right.
Woo! Great job.
Y'all gonna be on ESPN next.
Yeah. Right.
It's about lunchtime.